Hey there, welcome to my video. This is a little bit of a different kind of video for me, so I hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be talking about a book that I made, and more specifically, it's a low content book. And I want to tell you about my experience with that because it kind of changed my life. But I'm not here to tell you it's something you should do. I just want to share my experience because it was interesting, and I'm really proud of what happened actually. So before we get started, if you haven't met me before, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Rebecca. I run an art studio and I have had a sort of long-ish career making stuff online in the last 10 years or so, but my YouTube channel is the first time that anyone's ever met me. So I have a lot of experiences to share, which is really fun and something I'm looking forward to doing more of. And normally I do art tutorials and DIYs and studio vlogs, so today's a little bit different. So if you haven't heard of low content publishing, I'm putting it in air quotes because when I started it wasn't even really being called that. It is basically a thing you can do specifically on Amazon KDP where you can self-publish books, but they let you publish books that are lined journals or like gratitude journals or workbooks or things that don't have like a novel or a story in them, but they're designed with like a workbook in mind or a journal in mind. So that's a category of thing you can publish. You can still do it now. Lots of people do. But back in the end of 2019, early 2020, I started to give it a shot. So a little bit of backstory before I get into like what I did. At this point in my life, I had dropped out of my PhD program, moved back home with my parents, and was trying to build myself a career. And what I was doing was a lot of client design work because I sort of had a background in books. Like my master's was in English literature, and we did like a publishing focus for part of it. Anyways, so I was doing that and I was basically just trying to make money because I was pretty broke and still have student loans I'm paying off. And I really wanted to move out and it was just a lot of stuff was happening all at once in my life. And you may have noticed the date, this was the beginning of 2020. So spoiler, a pandemic happened and that had a big part into why this kind of thing worked for me. So the important thing to take from that is that I was already doing book design work. I was doing covers and interior formatting for self-published authors. And that's something I continue to do as a service for a couple of years. I don't really do it so much anymore, but I had a book design background. That's what I was doing for work. And I was also familiar with publishing on Amazon. I'd been self-publishing since 2015. So that was where I was at when I kind of came across this idea of low content publishing, which wasn't as talked about now. It's something that you hear about now in a lot of like passive income, like easy way to make money kind of things, which kind of ick me out a little bit because I do a lot of things for my work that could be passive income, but it's hard work, and I don't like to trivialize it nor to lie to people and be like it's so easy, just do this. Nothing's that easy. So the reason I wanted to make this video was both to say like, hey, I do this thing that you may have heard about and I've had success with it, but here's why I had success with it. I hope it's instructive. And also I'll tell you some of my tips if I was going to start doing this today, what I would do now. So that's the point of this video. So early 2020, I make this book. It actually published on January 9th. And here is the book. This is my book. A lot of people probably won't show you their bestseller. I'm showing you my bestseller because it's not a bestseller anymore. I guess this has been on the market for 3 years and it's really slowed down, but it had a big, it's still the #1 thing. If you look for Houseplant Journal on Amazon, this is still the #1 book you'll find. I think I changed the font. This is like an original one. You can see it says not for resale. This is like an original copy I had. I did change the font of the text, I believe. But anyways, it still comes up. It has like 200 reviews. They're all really good. I'm really proud of it. Well, I mean, they're mostly really good. I have like 4.5 stars. So I'm really happy with the product. But yeah, I'm going to show you the whole thing. There's no secrets here. You can go see it and look at it if you want. Please don't leave me bad reviews if you just don't like my video. I was always worried about that. Like if you show someone the thing that makes you money, that they would go and like leave mean reviews just because they don't like you. But like I said, it doesn't sell a ton anymore, so that's okay. I'm being vulnerable here. So this is the product. It came out on January 9th, 2020. And if you want to see what it's like inside, it basically looks like this. So I designed this because I had a huge houseplant collection and I was kind of starting to do houseplant stuff on my Instagram. So that's what I came up with this because that was the hobby I was really into. So it has like a watering schedule, like you can mark when you watered your plants, I was like really hyper fixated on my plant care. So this worked for me. And then this is like a plant profile where you write like the name of the plant, the kind of conditions it likes. It's a useful book. Like it wasn't just some like cheap, bad knockoff book or whatever. Like I put a lot of heart into this, but it's not super complicated either. It's like, this is the template, and it also has some blank pages at the back. But yeah, and it's like 200 pages, so it's like substantial. And it's also very cute, very like aesthetic and cute. When I came out with this, I was first very nervous to tell anyone about it because I just was shy and still am kind of shy about things I make. I'm getting better at that. But I hesitated over what to do. And then, you know, a pandemic was slowly approaching because that happened in March and this came out beginning of January. But it wasn't until, and I ordered like paperback copies of this too to like sell to people because they were excited. Like, I don't know, it was like a weird, I wouldn't do that now because I don't like ordering hard copies of books to just like rot on my shelves. But anyway, people wanted it. So because of all of that stuff, even though it was published, the published date, if you look at it, is January 9th, it wasn't until like mid-February that I was like getting ready to tell people about it. And it wasn't until early March that I actually did. So it was already out for a little bit, but I basically posted on all my social media, which I don't post on Facebook because I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing who I have on Facebook, but I did. And people, you know, were supportive and a couple of people bought it, and that was really nice. Those initial purchases helped kind of boost the visibility of it. So the first thing that I did that made this work was first I told people in real life who know me and they wanted to support me, so they bought it. So that was the number one thing that first helped. The second thing was I was in a Facebook group it was like a local plant swap group, and I messaged the admin. And at the time, this wasn't even a marketing strategy for me. This was just like me thinking like, the people who buy from the plant group probably would like it, like very naive, right? So I messaged the admin. I was like, could I promote my book? It's a plant journal. I think people would like it. I'm local. And they were like, yeah, go for it. So I did. And then people were really nice there too. And this was right around the time we were starting to find out like, this pandemic thing might be bad. And everyone was getting really into houseplants, like really into them. I had 2 little boosts in sales, and I think that really helped the algorithm on Amazon to make this visible. I think this is why this book was so successful. I've done other little journal projects that have been okay. I'll talk about those another time if you're interested in more stuff about my book career. But so I had a first little sales boom when I told my friends and they bought it. And then like 2 weeks later, I put it in the group, more people bought it. So we saw little sales spikes. And after that, I think it just started to go up the charts because it started to get popular, and I didn't really understand why, aside from those 2 things I had done. It was just good timing because everyone was getting into houseplants. We were all starting to get locked down, and everyone was like, well, the only thing to do is garden in my apartment, apparently. So the timing of it was really fortuitous, and that is why when someone's like, oh, I want to make a journal too, and I've had like book clients who come to me and are like, I need you to design my journal for me, and I will say, yes, happy to do it, but I need you to understand that when you see, like, when I tell you, like, yes, I was successful with my houseplant journal, I can't guarantee that you're going to have that success because for me, it was a lot of timing. And people understand that, and then they go on their merry way and do whatever they like with their books. So the exciting thing that happened was that this book started to chart a little bit in the houseplant gardening categories. And at one point, I even was looking at my book and it was up in the top 5 in a category. I'll include some screenshots because I have lots of screenshots from when this was happening. And I was next to Monty Don's book, which was a gardener my mom loves. And I remember showing her the chart and being like, Mom, look, like I'm up next to Monty Don. And she was so impressed, let me tell you. That was a real crowning achievement for me, especially when I had like a couple years of like, I got really sick and had to drop out of school and it was all like poor Rebecca, like her life was falling apart. And then I turned it around because I had a book next to Monty Don on the Amazon charts. But it really was exciting and it made me feel really good and confident, and it was a huge boost that I needed personally. Additionally, it was a big financial boost. So I will tell you that I've sold approximately 3,000 copies of this book, which doesn't sound like a lot in terms of book numbers. Like, you know, like famous authors will sell 10,000 of copies and whatever. But for a little journal that I made that got popular, you know, 3,000 copies isn't millions of dollars, but it was enough that I was able to save up and move out. And then, you know, I was also working on design work and stuff, but it was really the injection that I needed of cash to get my life back together. Not to say that I really got it all back together, but I am very happy and thriving in the life I have now. But it was the start of like a lot of things for me. So this is a very personal project and it means a lot. And I think about all the people who have a copy of this and probably never think about it. It's probably just dusty on a shelf somewhere. Hopefully they used it. But, all of those people who bought it helped me out. So that's kind of why I wanted to share that story, because I have a lot of people ask about like how my career has turned and how I do what I do now. Because right now I like run my art business full time, but I have a lot of different income streams from the internet. And one of them is books. And it's not so much this bad boy anymore, but this is really what started it off for me. And then also, I will say a couple years after, I can't remember when it was, Amazon released hardcover copies, and I also made a hardcover copy of this. And I've sold a few of those as well, but hardcover journals don't sell nearly as well as the paperback ones, in my experience. They've also increased the printing costs since then, so the margins are a little slimmer than they used to be. So with all that being said, that's my personal story about my little journal and how it changed my life, and I'm very proud of all of that. So what do I currently think about low content publishing? Well, I still do work in book design. I still work on personal books all the time. I have poetry books, I have picture books. I just love making them. I've been a writer my whole life, and that's like a big part of like my joy. It's not something that I want to be my main career anymore. I really like other things more, I think, but it's just a passion for me. So making books is still very important to me. So I like to stay up to date on it, and occasionally I do take very few clients if it's a project I feel really excited about. But this is like, this is not the kind of thing I would design anymore. I think my skills have improved significantly, but you gotta respect where you came from. So what would I say about low content publishing now? Number one, I was successful largely because I tapped into a big trend. If you can find a big trend that is impacting a lot of people, that is a good way to start. A lot of people doing low content publishing will choose a quantity over quality approach, which I think is to the detriment of everybody. I'm not here to judge. Like, you do whatever makes sense to you, especially when you're still getting started and learning. But I think that it kind of sucks to put in all the effort to make 100 whatever titles. Like, the people do that. And maybe one of them takes off, but maybe not so much. Like I said, I think I have maybe like, how many journals have I designed? 10 to 15 total, because I don't make like really simple little ones. They're all like based around a hobby, and there's something like I'm really proud of. But I know there's a lot of different philosophies out there. Okay, so maybe this has been a little bit scatterbrained. Let me hone in a little bit. So what would I do if I wanted to start low content publishing today? Number one, I would start with keyword research, and I would also think about trends and stuff I know about. I would pick something that is familiar to me, so a hobby or interest that I'm into, like houseplants or journaling or gratitude journals. If I was really into that, it is more difficult to design something when you don't know anything about that subject. So I'm not going to make a book about horseback riding or something because I don't know anything about that. And people who would buy it would probably recognize that the person who made this didn't know what they're talking about. So I try to find things that I'm interested in, that I know about. Then I would do my keyword research. The tool that I use all the time for keyword research is Publisher Rocket. It is a paid one-time payment service. I think it's like $100 or so. It's software, and you just download it. I like to make things really accessible, so I don't always tell you guys that, oh, you have to buy this. But it is the easiest tool I've ever used. I've been using it for years to find keywords for books on Amazon. And keywords are really how your products get found. And it can also be a great way to tell if there's zero interest in something you want to make, or if there's a lot of interest and a lot of competition, or whatever. If you want to know more about that, like I can do more videos about books and publishing if you guys care about that, instead of just the art videos I do. But anyways, I'll just leave it at that. Publisher Rocket is the tool that I use. I think there's probably others out there. You can just go on to the Amazon search engine as well, like just on the site, and type it in and whatever keywords you want and see what comes up if there's a lot of products that match that. And I know that maybe I'm coming across as like a big Amazon stan in this. I am not, but it is the reality that if you want to self-publish, it has to be part of your formula. And it's the only place that's really easy to do non-book books, if you know what I mean, like journals and things like that. There's not another platform that's really welcoming for that kind of content. Yeah, and I mean, I like the books they make. I think they're nice quality. I know some people have had some print issues, but I've never had any print issues, very luckily. So after I do my keyword research, then I would figure out exactly what kind of book I want to make. And before I even would make it, I would start figuring out my marketing plan. Because a lot of people who do low content publishing, their marketing plan is good keywords, make a lot of books. And that's fine. Maybe it'll work. Maybe you get lucky. But I think that my personal approach would be to be a little more intentional and think about, okay, who can I present this to or share this with? The same way I went to that Facebook group, asked the admins, and shared it with them. Is there a place I can market this to people who would care about this specific niche as well? And that's also why I recommend doing something that you know about or a hobby you're interested in, because you probably already know those spaces, or maybe you already have friends who are. And ideally, you get people who are buying directly from the site that or wherever it's listed online rather than you selling them copies, because then it impacts the algorithm and makes it more visible because it becomes a popular book. And of course, the popularity is important, but it is difficult to rely solely on popularity and charts nowadays because, when I published this in 2020, there was probably millions fewer books clogging up the system, competing for space. And lots of those are really good books, and lots of them are going to be ones that people threw together without caring about the quality of them, just to try and capitalize on this popular passive income option. So it's not as easy to rely on just algorithms, popularity, and keywords as it used to be. So if you have your topic and your keywords figured out, you found out how you're going to market it or a couple ideas how to do that, maybe you're going to post it on Pinterest, Facebook groups, whatever you're going to do, then you want to actually design your book. I designed this whole thing. I designed the interior in Canva. And I've actually even made a Skillshare course on how to do that. I'm not making this video to try and plug anything. You can probably just figure it out on your own if you know how to use Canva pretty well. But I did design the interior in Canva, and I did the cover in Procreate. I drew the plants on it, and then I imported that art into Canva and made the cover there as well. So that's all free software. You don't need to do anything with, you don't have to pay anything to use that. And when that's done, you export it, upload it to Amazon, put in the metadata, which is not hard to figure out. And there you go, you have your book up. So this is not like a full tutorial that I'm telling you. I'm just telling you the steps that go into it. Some of those steps are the same from when I made it, and other ones you have to change a little bit just as the market gets more saturated. So that's the story of my successful low content publishing journal that I just wanted to share because I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. I'm sure if you are in the space of creative online, trying to make creative money online, you've probably heard about low content publishing. So that's my experience and how I think it's kind of changed over time. If you're interested in doing it, I still think it's a cool thing to do, but I think it's an easier thing to get into if you actually like making books. If it's just something you think that maybe you'll just do on the side and not care too much about, it's gonna be a grind and maybe not as satisfying. One of the things that I've had a lot more success with since I stopped doing client work with book design is I started doing book design templates, and I have a whole Etsy store about that called Self-Publishing Magic. And I will provide a link for that as well. Again, I didn't really anticipate I couldn't really decide if I was going to mention that in this video because I don't want to make it seem like I did a whole video about here's how to self-publish journals and here's tools to do that make me money. That wasn't my point. But I guess I'm trying to say that I pivoted from doing books for clients to making templates for clients. And that's been really good for me. I do have journal templates on that online store for self-publishing things like this, but much more popular in my store are my picture book templates and my poetry book templates, which you can go check out. I'm really proud of that store. I've also got lots of really nice reviews on there too. And that's been another way that I stay in touch with the book community, and I'm actually going to be making some new templates this fall, I think. I'm going to put links to everything I talked about down in the video description. Feel free to take a look if you are interested. I'll include a link to this book. I'll link my shop where I sell the templates, just if you're curious. You can just go have a look. I'm not super shy about sharing my stuff online anymore. So, and if you have any questions, happy to answer it. Questions about book publishing, about, creative income streams. I have lots of experience in it, so I'd be happy to tell you what I know. All right, well, thank you for watching if you made it this far. Check out my channel if you would like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'm gonna go put this back on my shelf of beloved things I've created. All right, I hope you have a really nice day wherever you are. See you later.